So I had this email pop up in my inbox a little bit ago, and it was pretty interesting. It's obviously a reply to my previous series of Mozilla videos, and I find it kind of interesting because this is a whole refutation. It's a part of a larger series of stuff, and this kind of focuses more on the way Mozilla has gone, in a sense, the way of all the earth, and it's the end of everything. So there's a whole bunch of stuff up here sooner. I might go over it, and it looks pretty interesting, the rest of it. But the death of Mozilla is kind of what was focused in the email. And I only cover it because I find it interesting and things like that. But anyway, so I suspect you've heard of the US government looking to inhibit Google because of their monopoly on browsers, searches, etc. One way this is supposed to be accomplished is for Google to be banned from paying browser companies to put their search engines as a default. Perhaps the most straightforward request is a ban on Google striking exclusionary contracts for preferred placement of its search products on browsers and phones. Google would be banned from entering revenue share agreements to distribute its search product or offer anything of value to Apple and Android phone makers or browser companies for any kind of default pre-installation or preferred placement. Mozilla is now complaining about it. So it seems to be coming closer. They wrote to court trying to prevent them from implementing their idea. As detailed in its motion seeking leave to file the instant amicus brief, Mozilla has a strong interest in the litigation because the remedy ordered by this court could have forced Mozilla to exit the browser and browser engine markets, as well as significantly impair the ability of Mozilla and its parent company, the Mozilla Foundation, to achieve their public mission. So what this is Mozilla saying, no, you can't tell Google not to do this. We're not making enough money to support Firefox development. Even though our parent company is a nonprofit, it just doesn't get the funds we need to support everybody and everything that we're doing. I believe there were a couple things that I pointed out that were big fluff stuff that Mozilla was doing in their focus. When their mission is purported, according to their manifesto, to be an open and free internet, they're focusing on other things that don't have anything to do with the internet at all. So what they are arguing for more profit from Google in order to continue to operate as a company, because apparently that's where a big part of their revenue comes from, is Google telling them, make us the default engine in your browser. The last twitches of the dying fox, desperate to escape the jaws of the crocodile. Nice for them to admit that Google has kept them alive for this entire time, though. Yet they don't mind BSing even the courts. That is how shameless they are. For 2 decades, Mozilla, a wholly owned subsidiary of the nonprofit Mozilla Foundation, has fought for an open and healthy internet ecosystem that promotes the public good. Among other things, Mozilla has developed open source products that foster innovation and prioritize user privacy and security over profits, advocated for web standards and legislation that promote competition, enable users to control their online experience, and spoken out against unfair and deceptive business practices. So they've given you some of the tools, but I believe somewhere up here it talks about Mozilla bowing to Manifest v3 even. There are some unfair and deceptive business practices that I think I've pointed out that Mozilla's pulled before. And also the whole thing of they've tried to do an ad network similar to what Brave has done, where they would show ads in the browser itself, and apparently it was anonymized. But even still, they were trying to find a way to prioritize profits in that moment. But people kind of lashed back. Now, of course, you've got the option to fork Firefox, remove those things, because deep down under the hood, you do have the ability to change a lot of things as the browser stands currently. In some ways, those options are hidden deep within the confines of the About Config page of the browser. Whereas you can find other forks of Firefox that end up opening it up a lot more to what you can do. So if I go to, where is it? Settings. You've got like a few more options that are implemented in, I believe, in like Arc and Fox and a few others that open it up. LibreWolf, I think, has a few more options as well. Florp opens up some options, but even then, none of those are perfect. But even then, they customize the UI more than what Firefox has sometimes and let you go back to an older style of UI if you want to. So you could go with the new one, you could go with old one, or you can go with the Proton one. It's up to you at the end of the day, but you've got options with it. This is all a joke, but I don't want to repeat myself, so let's continue. As Mozilla's Chief Financial Officer, Eric Muehlheim, testified, the proposed distribution remedies, if applied to Mozilla, would present an existential threat to Mozilla's business and public-oriented mission. This testimony is fully corroborated by the uncontroverted evidence before the court, which shows that the proposed distribution remedies would eliminate approximately 85% of Mozilla's U.S. annual revenue by preventing Mozilla from being compensated for setting the highest quality and user-preferred search engine as the default in its Firefox browser. So we put the highest quality and user-preferred engine, Google Search, not necessarily preferred when there are other more private options, but you say that you, up here, what is it? You prioritize user privacy and security over profits, but then you have the most invasive search engine as your default search engine in the browser. So Google's getting all that ad traffic, and you're getting paid by Google to continue to push it. Now, instead of finding another avenue of making revenue, you're telling a court that you just want to go the easy way and keep the status quo rather than innovate on a new profit model and actually do something that may actually encourage even more privacy. Because this is the easy route. And if I go to a previous article, you know, open source MFers like things free. So there are other ways that you can support that model, obviously. It's just the profit portion of Mozilla is having a hard time, and who knows where the foundation portion of it is, as the nonprofit is at that point. But then you've probably also got a lot of bloat that you're trying to hold on to in order to keep the status quo and keep people that do nothing in the corporation in a job where they're doing nothing. This is, well, no. Another admission that they will die if Google's money faucet is turned off. Importantly, the proposed distribution remedies would also drastically impair Mozilla's ability to maintain and improve its open source Gecko browser engine, which is the heart of Firefox, powers other independent browsers, and the only non-big tech browser engine. If Mozilla exits the browser engine market, this will give Apple and Google, as the owners of the other two browser engines, greater control over web standards. Google already controls a lot of web standards because of the big Google pays your bills, and you're saying, oh, Google's going to have like greater power over web standards. We're not going to have a say in it. Like, you have a say in it anyway. Google's been pushing web standards against your will for over a decade at this point. And saying it's the only non-big tech browser engine is like you're supported by big tech. If you want a non-big tech browser engine, we're going to go look at Ladybird. I just updated Circs, so give it a second. I don't know. I haven't, yeah. Wow, they've made their own engine too. Browser engine. Oh, let's not forget. Pale Moon is it's a fork of an older engine, but it's also been updated with some of the modern web standards. But Pale Moon and Basilisk are forks of older versions of Firefox, but also update to newer web standards, while also keeping the same old UI and theming scheme. So there are projects out there that are keeping up, and Mozilla isn't the end-all be-all, so they're really not the only one out there. They're just the loudest one that's directly outside of the big tech space. But in a lot of ways, you could almost, with as many services as Mozilla has, sure, they're not like all in your face, but they're pretty big. You are big tech too. Besides, what had long agreed that all the major browsers are supposed to work the same. So there's no actual competition in engines either way. As I wrote earlier, the HTML living standard is cancer that keeps out independent browser engine devs, and Mozilla is in favor of it. Again, this is Google and Mozilla agreeing with Google because Google pays Mozilla's bills. As detailed below, these competitive harms to the browser and browser engine markets can be avoided by exempting independent browser developers like Mozilla from the remedies entered in this litigation, which would sacrifice the efficacy of this court's ultimate remedies in any way. How are you independent when you are on life support called Google? Ironically, if plaintiffs' remedies force Mozilla to exit the browser market, users will be left with fewer browser choices. Again, see Pale Moon, which is a fork of an older version, and Ladybird. Ladybird has their own engine completely. Every other browser has gone pretty much to a Chromium-based browser. Look at Vivaldi, it's Chromium-based. Look at the new Opera, it's Chromium-based. Look at Microsoft Edge even? Internet Explorer has gone the way of the dodo. And now Microsoft's flagship browser, what have you, is based on Chromium. Because it's what everyone else is using. And we can keep up with the web standards that way. It's easier that way. We just fork Chromium. And now we live with hardened forks of Chromium that remove Google's cruft and add in better tracker blocking. And even Brave's based on Chromium. There are fewer web browsers based on Firefox, at this point, than there are on Chromium. Because every Tom, Dick, and Harry seems to be able to make a Chromium browser. I mean, heck. Come on. Wait, no, wrong thing. Wrong thing. No, give me that one. Yeah. I need the link. That's all I need. That one. Yay. So, every Tom, Dick, and Harry has their Chromium fork at this point. And yeah, sure, some projects are going to make forks of Firefox as well. Like Poop and Fart and Fox, okay? But you're already being squeezed out a little bit at a time. Not necessarily. When the controlled opposition is gone, people might actually eke out true opposition. Consistent with the Mozilla Foundation mission, Mozilla has managed Firefox in a manner that places people and societal benefits above profits. For example, based on its belief that privacy is fundamental to a healthy internet, Mozilla collects limited user data and has integrated market-leading privacy and security features into Firefox, including, I hope the judges don't buy this. I mean, the fact that this legal situation even exists disproves it, because Mozilla would rather keep an anti-privacy, for-profit, ad-driven, censorious, anti-user search engine as the default than cut their earnings, but put something actual respectful. Again, see earlier paragraphs. This court has rightly noted that the proposed distribution remedies could force Mozilla to exit the browser market because Firefox depends on Google's revenue, share payments for its very survival. 12725 order at 18. Such a result would give big tech browsers greater control over the browser market and leave privacy-conscious users with fewer browser choices. Okay, I'm going to go pick on another browser that is now a fork of Firefox. I feel bad that Midori ended up dying in the way it was previously, but at the same time, with Midori in its current state and the people that are backing it, Astian, I think, has more profits that can be able to move forward the Firefox-based browser that they've built and allow Mozilla to go the way of the dodo. Now, not necessarily the best idea, I guess, but you're basically switching corporate hands from one to another. So Astian, a company that develops free applications with a focus on privacy, in charge of the Midori browser, the Astian Go search engine, and more. So they have their own thing going for them, too, as well. So we can go, let's go, oh, wow. About Astian Go. So if we look at their search engine, ad-free searches, tracker-free searches, completely anonymous, and private searches. I don't know what their index is, or where they get it from, but yeah. Find what you need in an instant. Find what you're looking for without compromising your privacy. So I don't know what their profit model is exactly, but okay. Mozilla runs some similar services. If we go to Astian OS, come on, I believe this is their Linux distro. Okay, to say that like, oh, Firefox is the leading edge of everything kind of feels, how should I say, not the best, being as there are other people that are taking up the mantle of taking Firefox and forking it and changing it. Sure, they've still got Mozilla doing development, updating the engine to web standards, but some of these people actually have the resources to move a Firefox-based browser forward if Mozilla were to go the way of the dodo. Actual privacy-conscious users are not using Firefox. Plaintiffs have attempted to downplay the competitive harm that proposed distribution remedies will cause in the browser and browser engine markets by suggesting that Mozilla could easily replace its lost Google search revenue. The uncontroverted evidence proves otherwise. Once again, Mozilla admits to being sustained almost entirely by Google. If Yahoo, a company owned and backed by a private equity firm with $785 billion in assets under management, concluded that it could not sustain a browser without Google search as the default, there's absolutely no reason to believe that Mozilla, a much smaller company owned by a nonprofit, would have more luck doing so. Get rid of all your bloat in the corporate company. Similar things have come up quite a few times, and my reply to all those is, then so be it. As I've said in this section about privacy-preserving advertising, we shouldn't keep something evil up, Google search and or Mozilla, just because some other less evil things depend on them. But are they really less evil if they choose such sponsors? Let's fix our problems at the foundations. But again, survival instinct is primary, and in this quote, the evil fox is simply gasping for its last breaths. They're trying to uphold the status quo and not have to change anything, and keep their bloat non-working hires in jobs that mean they don't do anything. And it's probably a large portion of the people writing these briefs that are the bloat that need to go, in all reality. Maybe we shouldn't celebrate yet, though. After all, none of this has been applied yet. As far as I can see, though, Mozilla is or pretends to be very scared already. Being a conspiracy theorist, I wonder if this isn't some kind of game. Maybe Mozilla has just ceased being useful, at least in the form it has existed in so far. Maybe the world elites realize that search engines are slowly being deprecated in favor of AI. They will throw us a bone and break up Google while it's already becoming irrelevant. In 2024, around 15 million adults in the United States claim to have used generative AI as their primary tool for online search. By 2028, this number is projected to reach 36 million online users. And pretend the legal system sometimes works in our favor, but will all turn out to be theater, as the new monopolizer will be the AI companies, which are, of course, much more effective. in convincing people of the official versions of the events. To evaluate this possibility, we leveraged developments in generative AI and engaged 2,190 conspiracy believers in personalized evidence-based dialogues with GPT-4 Turbo. Intervention reduced conspiracy belief by about 20%. The effect remained 2 months later, generalized across a wide range of conspiracy theories, and occurred even among participants with deeply entrenched beliefs. And Mozilla, by getting integrated with them, will lead us to them and keep serving the role of controlled opposition this way. Don't you think this situation is suspiciously convenient? Right as the legal circus is being finalized, Mozilla's moving toward AI, so they might not be that bothered by the restrictions on Google if AI companies will fund them instead. And it is very obvious the elites are going all in on AI, so they won't let Mozilla die. This is my prediction. So you do have that aspect of it where I think I read, when I was doing the Mozilla series, I came across some videos talking about Mozilla talking about, or articles of Mozilla talking about AI and so on, and implementing it into different things. I believe they were talking about implementing AI into the browser itself, basically as a helpful plugin to help in your browser. And yay or nay, whether you like that or not, having your data outsourced to an AI on someone else's server, kind of sketchy, honestly. It's probably a lot nicer to set up your own at home or what have you. But yeah. Whether Mozilla can innovate, honestly. They don't need Google to fund their stuff. And in all reality, they could probably slim down a lot of their corporate fluff. In reality, they're just like any other company. They are corporative fat, probably for the most part. And their nonprofit is probably honestly on the one on life support because their corporate entity, the for-profit entity, is they're just cutting off their mission. If you liked the content, if you enjoyed it, if you think I deserve it, like, comment, subscribe, leave any criticisms you have or what have you. I appreciate it. Feed that algorithm, like I said, and I will see you guys in the next one.